In this video, I'm going to show you guys how I work with power tools and different materials that you can find around to construct a cat diorama. Welcome back, collectors. So, you've always been wanting to create a coherent story and you want to tell a story through your miniatures? Look no further than the base. We need to construct a kind of base so that you can place the miniatures on to tell a coherent story. In this video, I'll be working with some power tools, tree bark, and epoxy putty to create a cinematic and storytelling base for this cat diorama. So if you are ready, let us begin. So I'm starting off with an angled plinth. I'm using some AB epoxy from Magic Sculpt to hold the wood barks in place first. So I just mix A and B a little bit and reinforce the adhesion using super glue. As you can see, what I'm trying to create is a visual flow. I'm not trying to create a solid piece of terrain, but I'm trying to create something a bit floaty so that it lends to the visual interest and it leads the eye around. As you can see right here, I'm using my hands to slowly pluck and shape the bark. The bark is very easy to work with because just by simply plucking off little pieces, you can get very interesting rock effects. Yep. So what's really important is that while you're doing this, you have to regularly test fit the miniatures to make sure the rocks fit the miniatures and the miniatures fit the rock. In between the rocks, I also use a bit of epoxy to sort of like support. This epoxy isn't very strong yet, so it just needs some time to cure. At this stage, you don't want to be throwing away the little pieces because the little pieces can also help to make the entire piece a little more interesting. As you can see, I'm regularly placing the miniatures onto the diorama to make sure that the entire composition works. The process is extremely fluid. As you can see, the epoxy isn't really dry yet, so you still can shift things around. Just using my hands to pluck, using a tweezer to put little pieces of bark where my hand can't access. So I'm always reinforcing the areas with a bit of epoxy, just to make sure that the entire piece is well supported and can be painted later. This is very important because you don't want your piece to be falling apart when you're painting later, which makes fixing very hard. So while waiting for the diorama to dry, I'm going to remove the models from their bases using the David power tool. So as seen with my using power tools like a pro video, I'm going to put a card somewhere here. Okay, I'm going to start creating checkpoints first. So using a drill, I'm just creating just checkpoints for me to start drilling and removing bits and pieces of the base. So what do I mean by checkpoints? Checkpoints are just dots so that you can have this, so that the power drill can follow these dots later and you will be more on course. At this stage, just try to be very careful, don't drill your own fingers. It's not fun to have a hole in your finger. So in this video, it demonstrates that I try to keep my face quite far away from the miniature so that I can see what's going on and I have binocular vision. This is really helpful because you don't want to be tunnel vision and sort of misalign your vision, and this might end up in mistakes. Okay, so I'm continuing, as you can see, just dot, creating checkpoints where I'll remove the base of the miniature first. Just doing this in big chunks. After drilling in the checkpoints, what you want to do is you want to start tracing the entire miniature. You want to start with the two extreme ends, then slowly work into the middle part so that the excess plastic from the base falls off, as you can see over here. So you just pull it according and got to remove as much of the miniature base as possible. So I'm doing this for the rest of the cats to make sure that I can proceed on to the next stage where I'll use a different tool to start removing more volumes of plastic. At this stage, it's very important to remember not to be neat because all the precision is going to be wasted. Yeah, I'm just going to finish up on this and we'll be moving on to the diamond blade soon. So as you can see right here, for the diamond blade, it's very good to keep it slightly further away. And next, I'm just going to use this flat ceramic disc. So using the flat ceramic disc, I'm going to use it to level the grinded areas to make sure that we remove all the base as evenly as possible. At this stage, it's very important to wear eye protection. Eye protection is recommended for all stages so that none of the little plastic bits do fly into your eyes. The next stage, I'll be using a little knife to start to do a bit of detailing just to remove the little bits of plastic. As you can see, this is the final layout for the composition. After this, I'm going to start refining all the other bits using a bit of epoxy putty and more power tools. So with epoxy putty, I like to mix it equal parts and just twist and twist. This twisting technique allows for an equal mix. So I'm just going to create little rocks for the key characters in this diorama. The key characters for this diorama would be the necromancer, which you just saw, this druid representing my friend's wife, and this little beagle representing my friend. Okay. And with this very same epoxy, I'm just gonna use little blobs of it to create rocks. So these rocks lend to contrast between the very rough bark, and I'm gonna create some smooth rocks so that there's some part separation, which makes the entire diorama look a little bit more complicated and nice. Okay. I'm just placing bits and pieces of this epoxy here using a metal tweezer. The metal tweezer is first soaked in water so that it doesn't stick to the metal as well. But as you can see, this epoxy putty is still quite sticky. Yeah, just trying to get the epoxy to stick onto the wood sometimes can be quite a bit of a challenge. So sometimes I use a bit of super glue to make sure that this process is easy. So sometimes what you can do is, even before the epoxy putty is dry, you can just add a touch of super glue to adhere some of the smaller pieces of rock, because the smaller pieces have very has very small surface area, and super glue tends to help. Okay. Yeah, just gonna add a little bit more small pieces here. Yeah. Alright, so this is the final layout for the small rocks on the wooden bark. I'm going to go back to my power tool next to start shaping some rocks. Alright, so using the diamond blade now, I'm going to cut flat planes onto these round rocks. As you can see, the flat planes are starting to make the rocks look a lot more realistic. This stage is actually very easy to do. Right now, the epoxy putty hasn't fully dried yet, so still possible. It's sort of like 3/4 dry, but I find that at a 3/4 dry, it allows the epoxy putty to have a smooth surface. Next, I'm going to use a small drill. So this small drill will be used to shape a lot of the small details. It's used approximately the same way as the diamond blade, but I'm going to use it to shape even smaller details and areas where the diamond blade can't reach. So I'm just cutting out big chunks of planes first to make the rocks look a bit more realistic. Now I've just placed on the miniatures to check the final composition. So this is the final result, and we're going to go and spray and Xanthal prime him soon. This cat will be jumping here.
So as you guys can see, these two cat dogs have been magnetized. Okay, I'll show you the next step in a bit. So this is part 1 of the diorama. After some priming and a bit of zenithal highlighting and some selective areas, we're going to go into part 2, which will be working on the bad guys and the atmospheric light at the bottom.
So that's where we are with the cat diorama right now. We still have a lot of content and how we are going to paint them in the next video, so I hope you join us in the next video. So how do you find the cat diorama so far? Do you like the results? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video useful, you can like, subscribe and hit the bell notification icon. Share this with all your friends also, because it really helps the channel. And if you really want to support the channel further, do head on to our Patreon and become a Patreon today. Patrons get early access and exclusive content to some of my tutorials and projects, and also they get to interact with me, and we all get to become better painters together. I hope you guys learned something, and I hope to see you guys in the next video where we'll be painting the cats and making the whole cinematic effect. I'll see you then. See you.